Welcome to the latest episode of Templar Talks. It feels like Alexa's going off as well. That's cool. Great intro to today's show. It feels like it's been a while. I don't know why. Maybe it's because there were some like super busy weekends of Magic that have just, I don't know, like your time gets filled up right when every weekend is a Magic event because of all the RCQs and stuff.
How many sets have been released? 4, 5?
yeah, it does feel that way. It does feel that way for sure. But yeah, we have a great episode regardless today. We're probably going to have some interruption from a mad dog, so that's going to be a lot of fun. But in terms of topics, we do have quite a lot to talk about today. So we're going to be going over Thunder Junction, obviously, new set that has come out. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with it. We've picked out a few cards we think are going to be hot. Obviously, we're doing it after pre-release, so we've kind of missed the boat. We had to delay this episode, we're sorry. We're going to be talking about one of our standard decks that we've been looking at in preparation for Naples. The integrity around competitive Magic. Another tournament, another cheater, potentially. Asterisk. Again, with Comp MTG, is it simply dying? The MTGO new player pack, which is a fantastic addition that WotC have added, and then something that WotC have done very badly, the new controversy around the latest secret lair drop. So I guess, Todd, what do you want to talk about first?
Let's jump straight into Thunder Junction. I'm excited. I've looked at the cards. I'm a bit buzzing about that. But tell me first, what can I get in a pack? Well,
this is the thing, right? So obviously, you know, we always like to reveal behind the curtain and be a bit transparent. And before we hit record, we were talking a little bit about Thunder Junction. And although we'd both seen some of these cards that we're going to be talking about in terms of specific things, we've spoken about what might be impacting Standard because obviously we're thinking for Naples. You weren't aware of the situation around what you can get in a booster pack.
I was not, no.
To be fair, most of the Templar guys, and I've really reined myself in recent times, we are singles buyers primarily over gamblers, so it makes sense as to why you wouldn't necessarily, have looked that up. But so effectively, there's the main set, which is OTJ, which is standard legal. So that's like
Outlaws of Thunder Junction.
Exactly,
makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
OTC is the commander set, but you can get those in collector's packs. But only collector's packs, so there's not like too much confusion for new players. It's just you can get the borderless ones. They've done that for a while. Breaking news, which is OTP, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. Is that the wanted ones, like where it's like wanted?
Yeah, it's like a newspaper or whatever. Yeah. And you get one in every pack, but they're not standard legal, but you can draft with them and sealed with them.
Right. Okay.
Full disclosure, I missed pre-release. It was my wife's 30th birthday, but we did pick up a couple of pre-release kits to play at home, which we're going to play this evening. We opened the prize boosters on the way home in the car. Me and my wife enjoy the, guessing the cards. And she was saying, there's a new newspaper set. And I was like, yeah, it must say like BRN, breaking news or something like that in the bottom. She's like, no, it's OT. And I'm like, no, it can't be OT because that's OTJ. No, it says OTP. And I'm like, what does OTP mean? And obviously it's the breaking news set, which is newspaper style, but it's OTP. So I'm not sure. On
what
Outlaws,
does the P stand for?
Paper?
Outlaws of Thunder Paper?
It's wild. But So it's basically mystical archives from Strixhaven, one in every pack, like Phone of Eldraine.
Sure.
Then you have Big, BIG, which is the big score set, which is standard legal.
I've heard about this because they were going to release it as a separate set, but then they squeezed it into the full set.
Exactly. So every card in it is mythic, rarity, and it's on a 4th print sheet, I think. So it has its own print sheet, so you don't get them that often. I don't know pull rates, but they're scarce. I think in the 4 prize packs we opened, I saw one big card. So I don't know what will be in a wider sample size, but I'm predicting one of the cards we're going to talk about is from the big set, and I think prices for those are going to be quite
through the roof.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
And surely that's it, Stephen.
No, then we have special guests, which is so. Special guests is like the list, right? Like it's that old kind of.
Sure.
So special guests, I think you get one per box on average.
All right,
so they're
okay.
super niche.
Niche, yeah.
Off the top of my head, I don't know the prices right now, but I know Prismatic Vista got a reprint in the special guest set, and I think it's about double the cost of the normal Prismatic Vista from Modern Horizons 1 because it's full art and that's how rare.
Fancy.
Yeah, I remember
the whales are going to be out.
Yeah, like the Crashing Footfalls, I remember were like 40 to 50 for foils.
Wow.
Because you can only get the foils of special guests and collector vistas. So
sure.
Yeah, you're looking pretty unlikely to pull these cards.
Good time to be an artist for Magic the Gathering then, I guess.
Yeah, but it does, I wasn't at pre-release, so I don't know what it was like, but I can't imagine. I mean, I guess pre-release it's not confusing, right? Because you can just play all of them, everything. Yeah. So I don't think it was like before, because I know with Murders of Karlov Manor, which I don't think you'll have seen this because I don't think you came to pre-release?
I don't come to pre-release.
No, sure. So. I actually saw some discourse around new players at pre-release that we haven't included as a topic, but we might have to cover on that. A lot of people were complaining online about slow players at pre-releases.
Oh,
and it is just like don't do that's we'll just brush over that if you're like
got
mad.
Comp pre-release coming up now.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a little over the top. So don't rush your new player at a pre-release, but. In the Murders pre-release, you got a card in your pre-release box that you weren't allowed to use.
Oh.
So it was like in the promo pack with your promo, but you couldn't use that one.
Oh, yes, I do remember this. Yeah.
So I don't know if they've done that with this one, because obviously I wasn't there. I haven't opened the ones we're going to be playing with yet. But it does seem a little... I don't know, you can get... I like the idea of play packs from a store perspective and from a fun draft perspective, but when... sealed, you can get 5 rare or mythics in your one standard legal booster pack. That does seem a little... Because one can be the foil slot, one can be breaking news, one can be big, one can be... It's kind of stupid.
You've got some pretty high rolls and some pretty low rolls in your sealed now. Yeah.
It's... I don't know. I know our local draft community is very, as far as I'm aware, I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I don't think they're a fan of play boosters.
Sure.
I think the traditional draft boosters were preferred, but I think people shouldn't, outside of a Pro Tour, maybe draft shouldn't be taken as seriously, so maybe it's a good thing to get players in. People like opening.
It's funny that the draft players would want more consistency, right? Because that's why I play, constructed. So I find it interesting that then draft players actually want the consistency of a draft set over the more randomness of a play booster, but hey.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the signals of the draft are harder to see, right? Because
now you're getting past mythics. Because they took the other mythic.
It throws you off a little bit, right? If you don't know what's been taken from a pack.
Sure.
So I don't know.
I think they just ramped up the difficulty, and now the draft players have to use more of their memory, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think the set is really cool. Mm-hmm. I think it's a lot of people have been saying it's like Modern Horizons light, like they're trying to power things up.
I mean, it's certainly aesthetically pleasing. In the artwork of the cards is a nice. It's fresh, right? I feel like we've moved away from murders and we're now in this whole different plane, and that's kind of exciting.
So to talk on, because obviously for those that are watching that don't know, Todd is a vegan, which is why I'm specifically aiming this
that's
at
a random call out.
No. I wanted to get your take on this. So the Grand Abolisher has been printed into standard, and in the artwork there is a fox on their cowboy hat, there's like a pelt of some kind.
Oh, right. Okay.
And a lot of people
I wondered where this was going.
No. A lot of people have been really angry online about animal cruelty in Magic cards. Whereas,
right. Okay.
Yeah, but so from my perspective, I kind of see it as it would be. We're in a fantasy setting anyway, but if it was the Wild West, it would be happening.
I mean, it's relatively lore accurate, isn't it?
This is what I mean. Like,
we're in the desert. People are killing each other. Ergo, they're probably killing some animals.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't get angry about a fantasy world. Sorry.
Yeah. Like, no, yeah. I've kind of thrown you under the bus though with that one because I didn't prep you for it all. But it came into my head like I saw a lot of people were getting very angry about it, and
I didn't know where you were going. I thought you were going to say obviously Grand Abolishers are stacks cards, and we know vegans like stacks decks.
No. We weren't going quite down that far of a rabbit hole. But no, you know, it was just an interesting point. I think a lot of people can get angry with artistic expression.
Yeah,
and I think,
I can see it. You know, maybe it somewhat glorifies animal cruelty, but I think you already have to be a certain disposition if you're going to get your validation from the artwork on a Magic card.
Yeah.
Well, if Grand Abolisher wears a fox in his hat, then I'm going to go fox hunting.
I think we're a similar age, and we grew up in that generation of being told that we're going to go out and shoot people if we play GTA. Like, I think there is an element of just these things are so far from reality at times that. Yeah, I'm not going to go out and skin an animal because I saw it on a Magic card, right?
Yeah.
But I do understand that, you know, maybe it is a bit poor taste. And, you know, maybe it should have been included more. If it was going to be a theme of, like, actually being more real to the desert in the Wild West theme, maybe there should have been more kind of...
I mean, if you've played Red Dead Redemption, I have...
I haven't,
and I skinned a few animals on in my gameplay. I didn't find that morally, you know, wrong. That was just accurate to the lore of the game.
Yeah,
you know, to the area. Like, I think it's important to have distinction between reality and not reality, right?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, anyway, actually back to the cards we were picking rather than just the artwork.
Grand Abolish is an excellent card, though.
Yeah, I think it's cool that they're putting it in standard. I think that's a good one. So we've picked out 5 cards that we think are going to potentially affect different formats. These are 5 that have been spoken about in kind of the team chat with Team Templar, as well as just a few we've picked out. I think the big one I'm going to give a shout out to start off with to Mr. Solomon Grundy, James Gurney of the team. He is very, very hot on the blue instant 3 steps ahead.
Of course he is. Our control player aficionado.
Indeed. So this is it's an instant 1 blue, but it has the new spree mechanic. A few of these cards we're going to be talking about have the new spree mechanic. Effectively, it is escalate. You just get to pick 1 or more. So you have to pick 1, and then so you can't just like play it to add something to the stack. You have to pick 1 of these additional costs, but you can pick up to all of them. So I think the reason James really likes this, and equally I like it as well, is it's very flexible because early game it can do certain things, late game it can do lots of things. So for 1 blue plus 1 generic 1 blue, we'll just talk about the actual escalate costs. So 1 generic 1 blue extra, you can counter target spell, so Archmage's Charm counter. For 3 generic extra, you can create a token that's a copy of target artifact or creature you control. Yeah. And then for +2, you can draw 2 cards, then discard a card.
Sure.
So I think the flexibility is, you know, you hold it on turn 3, and you can either counter a spell or draw 2 cards and discard a card.
Yeah, it's giving me Archmage's Charm vibes, right? Like it's a little bit watered down Archmage's Charm, or arguably better, because you have the 4 mana mode where you can create a copy of a target creature you control if you're ahead. Interesting, right? I like the spree mechanic. I like the flexibility. I like that you could use the new plot mechanic to put it to the side and pay the extra cost later. It gives you some flexibility there. Let's be honest, it's gonna see play in standard purely because it's 3 mana counter spell, and then maybe you get to do some more modes later on, given whatever is going on in your match, right? I think that's a pretty easy one for us to go. That's a good card.
Yeah. And sticking on the easy ones. I mean, to be honest, all the ones we've picked, I think, are pretty easy to see. These are good cards.
But that's a part of a cycle, right? The one of a mana. There's a white one. There's a red one. There's a blue one. There's a black one. Yeah. There's a green one, right?
The other one we've picked out is the red one. Great Train Heist. It's an instant 1 red, and again, it's +2 generic 1 red. Untap all creatures you control. If it's your combat phase, there is an additional combat phase after this phase. That's pretty cracked.
Pretty wild
for 4 mana. +2 generic. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain first strike until end of turn. And then +1 red mana. Choose target opponent. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to that player this turn, create a tap treasure token. Obviously, I think this maybe isn't good enough for Modern, but maybe Pioneer. But
I think
Standard is the big one.
Yeah, I mean, it could see playing Standard. It could see playing Pioneer.
I think you'll see playing Commander as well.
Definitely.
Big Commander card.
Yeah. But all the modes are relevant here, right? Like, you pay 4 mana, you get an extra combat step. Who doesn't like that, right? In any format. The +2 generic creatures you control get +1 and first strike. That is an insane combat trick in the mirror of Boros Convoke or, Pioneer Convoke.
Yeah.
And then actually 1 red and a red. So for 2 red, choose target opponent. Right, that's obviously a commander caveat, because if it was
each opponent,
that would be pretty cracked. But I can certainly see, Hail Mary on turn 2, get some treasures, tap them down to level up my Warden, right? It's going to be pretty wild, because you can do that next turn or whatever. Yeah, it's a relatively good card. I don't see it in main decks, I've got to admit. I think it's more of your sideboard card, just because it's got a bit of versatility and it's not really... It waters down your consistency.
To counter that, I could maybe see it in main decks for like the red deck wins archetype. Over Convoke, because Convoke needs to do more of a thing, but I know there's a lot of kind of prowess-esque cards getting printed in this set, and having something that triggers that prowess plus gets you more treasures or +1/+0, that's a pretty cool combat trick to have under your belt. And speaking of those prowess-esque cards,
I love this card.
I opened this card in my prize pack. So Slick Shot Show Off. That's a hard one to say for me. It's some weird artwork. It's like some creepy bird.
What are you talking about? It's a bird wizard. That is so obviously a bird. And it's a bird wizard in the Wild West.
Yeah,
he's got his
cowboy hat, kind of. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So this is 1 red, 1 generic creature bird wizard. It's a 1/2 flying and haste. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Slick Shot Show Off gets +2/+0 until end of turn. But crucially, you can plot it. Now, plot the new mechanic. You can pay 1 red, 1 generic. You exile it from your hand, and you may cast it as a sorcery on any later turn. So you don't. It's not like the next turn with like a what's that mechanic even called? Suspend. It's not like Suspend where there's an inevitability. Yeah. This is a flexible, you can do this whenever kind of situation. So, turn 2, you leave it off to the side, and then turn 3, bolt, swing for a ridiculous amount of damage. I think it's pretty cool.
Blue-red decks are going to love this card.
I really hope that, like Spy Bluff Canal, like we haven't picked the lands, right? The lands are so fucking obvious.
It's obvious, right?
But I really hope with Inspiring Vantage and Spy Bluff, some kind of a prowess blitz.
Jeskai blitz.
Yeah, I would love it, because I loved in Modern, one of my favourite times in Modern was when that Izzet blitz deck was reigning supreme with Stormwing Entity, where you cheated it in at lower mana. It was really, really nice.
The Swifty hasn't rotated out, has it?
Well, it won't. Nothing rotates out till September.
Sure.
And I don't think Swift Spear will.
Yeah. I mean, that 8 prowess creatures is probably enough to make some kind of prowess burn red deck wins archetype a thing, right?
Oh no, so I think it will, because it's Brothers War. Yeah. So I think it will rotate out. But I mean, we have some time.
Yeah. I mean, this card particularly is gas, right? I think that's being able to set up for a big prowess turn and control your hand a bit to be like, okay, now's a good time to go for a Hail Mary.
Yeah,
is pretty good.
And an honourable mention as well. There is a Bant card, I believe, which allows you to exile a card with 3 cost or less from your hand, and plot it. So, Crashing Footfalls.
Oh, that's the Kellen one.
Kellen, I believe so. I mean, it's niche, but with rhinos having been hit, I don't know. This plot mechanic seems kind of crazy. I know we haven't selected it as a card to properly talk about, but there's a new Jace. It's a 2-mana planeswalker, but you can't cast it before turn 3.
Yeah, but you can cascade into it, right?
Yeah, sure.
Or glimpse it. Bring glimpse back.
But it lets you plot a card for free, right? So
as an uptick as well, not a minus. So I certainly will be exploring that card in modern decks for sure.
Yeah. I think the plot mechanic is very interesting. Maybe a little pushed. One mechanic from this new set, again, we haven't chosen a card to talk about, but Saddle, hate it because it's basically crew but stupid. It just annoys me.
It's very Wild West though.
Yeah, but it feels unnecessary. Like, it really does feel unnecessary. But anyway, moving on to cards we are going to talk about in more detail. High Noon, a white enchantment, 1 white, 1 generic. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. A bit of stacks. And obviously it has, 5 mana, 1 red, 4 generic. Sacrifice it, deals 5 damage to any target.
Yeah.
So it can be a good little finisher.
Yeah, I mean, I like this card, and it's definitely a sideboard hate card for standard against any deck, like the potential prowess deck or Convoke. Like, it's a troublesome card for the format. I think it is going to oppress some aggro decks for sure. If you're playing 4-5 cost cards, being able to removal spell turn 1, slam this on turn 2, play a 3 mana spell, then a 4 mana spell, then a 5 mana spell against a deck that only it curves tops out at 2-3 mana, you're winning that game.
I think this is this could. I mean, I'm going on a limb here, but I think this could see some playing like the domain decks just to
absolutely
slow opponents down and give you time to get to that silly attracts.
I mean, this is a card I'm thinking about sideboarding against, sideboarding for, even playing for the strength that it offers you.
And then obviously, I think my absolute
hateful
card.
Yeah,
so I've been playing a lot of blue white in Pioneer in standard. I think I'm going to be switching to Esper at a first look. Yeah. So there is a sorcery card, 1 white, 1 black. It's called Pest Control. It reads, destroy all non-land permanents with mana value 1 or less, and it has cycle, so for 2 you can just discard it and draw a card.
I mean, this card is modern playable easily.
Well, I think Legacy is going to be I think this could see play in Legacy because all of your mana rocks gone. Yeah. I think CDH, this card is absolutely correct. You play. I mean, what could you even play? You're going 4th, and all your opponents have shit out their mana vaults and mana crypts and jeweled lotuses, soul rings, and then you just go land, lotus petal, pest control, and you're gonna at least get a counter spell, some your force of will, force of negation.
Hateful card. Yeah. Move on.
I like it. I like it a lot. So moving on to kind of,
there's no downside. You can cycle it.
And the downside is that it's part of the big sheet, so it's going to be expensive. It's going to be a hard card to get. But obviously we've spoken a little bit in the mix there about Boros Convoke and standard. I believe Phil qualified for Naples with Boros Convoke. Rocco qualified for Naples with Boros Convoke.
With Phil's Boros Convoke.
With Phil's Boros Convoke. Who else? Mikey was playing Boros Convoke in standard. So a lot of the
I
team,
was playing it as well. Yeah.
You qualified in modern. So
but I didn't qualify with it. But I like the deck.
Yes, So it was quite a hot deck for
our
Team
local
Templar.
metagame.
And as outside of the team, a lot of people were playing Boros Convoke.
Definitely, you had to have it on your radar.
Yes,
and James did when he crushed everyone on blue white control.
yeah, for sure. There were a lot of lockdowns in our blue white list. But we were all very, very excited when we saw some of these escalate cards that can, give +1/+0. Or sorry, what's it even called? Spree. Fuck's sake. And obviously we were all very excited when we saw Inspiring Vantage, fixes the bad mana base cycle of Convoke. But with cards like Pest Control, is it even playable anymore?
I would say not. I'm personally going to move away from it. I'm sure we'll have some discussion at our next team meeting about what the format looks like. But Esper was already an insanely good deck, as it had some game against Convoke and it had a lot of game against Control. Now it gets these additional bits that just mean that they can shore up the game much easier than having to have the cut downs and play the lockdowns, which is double white, right? Which you don't really want to be double whiting. So I think it's a hostile place.
Yeah,
Outlaws of Thunder Junction for a Convoke deck to do well. I don't think I personally won't be playing it at Naples. I don't think at this point.
I think it's going to be hard because I think for my approach to a tournament like Naples. But so context, I'm going to be going for the LCQ because I figured holiday with the guys. Yeah, I'm still debating whether I should go to Bologna at the end of this month for an extra chance.
Your last chance.
It's pretty. Yeah. It's cheaper, and I think there's a better chance of qualifying. I'm a lot more confident on modern.
Yeah.
But is there an element of just high rolling? Because
I mean,
with this deck, you've given it more tools to just get out of the gates quicker. Do you just high roll your way? Because to win a tournament like Naples or any RC, you do need to have a little bit of luck on your side.
Absolutely, and like you say, as much as I'm saying I'm not going to play it, it might just be the case that I can't find the cards for another deck that I want to play, and I just roll with Boros Convoke. There's an element of seating lottery. I'm sure there's going to be a number of players who won't swap decks off the base of cards that come out in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So, I'm not saying that we won't see Boros Convoke in the top 64, top 32, but it's looking unlikely if people pick up the cards they need for the format.
I think Esper, to me, like, Esper just seems like such a no-brainer. Like, with Rafine still being in the format, there's so much, and that fucking bat. That bat, Deep Cavern Bats, is such a cracked magic card.
And the big bat as well. I find the big bat can be pretty good. The 5 mana
but just 2 mana, take something from your hand and lifelink hit in the air is...
There is obviously... I think the format will be Esper, Blue-White and Domain. I think it's going to be really, really hard for an aggro deck to do well in the format unless someone cracks it in the next 2-3 weeks and finds the line through. Just the range of removal, the power of the top end cards is just going to be pretty cracked, I think.
Yeah, no, I again, we have a team meeting to go over it soon enough, and we're gonna be testing fairly extensively in the run-up. Basically, again, for context, for those watching and listening, we kind of agreed as a team to not even think about Standard until Thunder Junction had come out, because until the set was spoiled, there is no point, because the whole set's, the landscape could completely shift.
And this set looks particularly
impactful. Yeah.
Purely off the base that they've squeezed a small set in there as well, right?
Yeah.
Here's a set and a half.
Yeah. My hope as well, though, is maybe costs for this set are going to be lower singles wise, because there's more incentive to open it from single sellers and stores perspective and gamblers and players. Just because of this breaking news slot, so I'm glad about that. Because there's a lot of there's some hits in breaking news, like Oko, Force of Vigors in breaking news, Leyline Binding, Fortseas. There's a lot of good staples in it, and I think this is a good direction. Personally, I like it.
I like sets that are opened right. It's always frustrating, Aftermath for March, where you just get.
It's still money.
Get sets where people are like, why would I open it? I get there's a 1 in 50 chance that I get something that's even marginally playable, right?
Yeah, but I mean, March of the Machine lowered the price of Ragavan by about 20 quid, so
Yeah,
hopefully this does it overnight with some of these cards that you want in your collection. So I guess we've spoken a little bit about Naples. What should we go into now? Is comp magic dying, or does comp magic have no integrity?
I mean, we've obviously, there's players in the team who are actively playing other card games, right? And we're a bit nerdy. We enjoy all of the different games that have been coming out. We've got Lorcana, we've got Star Wars, we've got One Piece, and these games are taking off. Like One Piece tournaments are sold out to the brim. Lorcana tournaments now, comp play is out there. They're looking like they're selling out, and they're limited, and people want to be there. We've got Pokemon, which obviously
I think EUIC sold out as well. Yeah,
brought into the podcast.
I think Pokemon was. Let me actually quickly look. Pokemon EUIC. I believe it was 2000. But I may be wrong. EUIC breaks competitive Pokemon record.
Wow.
Oh, there are a lot of pop-ups on this website. Are there any numbers here? 4,500 competitors across 4 different games. So the TCG was 2,591, but obviously that's like there's age brackets in Pokemon, so that's not just going to be one tournament, but still that's a lot of people. And I know Lorcana, their big European tournament, had 512 player cap, and it sold out in under a minute, and they have quadrupled the cap, and I believe it's still sold out.
I mean, it's pretty clear and that Magic doesn't have the draw that these new games are getting.
Now, counterpoint, even though I kind of agree, with Magic on Amsterdam, MH3 trios sealed, sold out in like 5 minutes. I know, Will was trying to buy tickets for like the 75k Open and stuff like that. Website crashing, what I mean? And to be fair, when I had a look, if I wanted to do a little impulse journey over to Amsterdam, I kind of ruled it out because for whatever reason, it's so expensive to get to Amsterdam at the time they're doing it.
I think there's something else going on in the city at the time.
Maybe. But every single pass, except Saturday and Sunday separate day basic packages, have sold out. So is it just that we have become so used to no GPs, which I think is a good thing. I do not think GPs are a good thing. I will go on record saying I think open tournaments...
I miss GPs so much.
So I think GPs are a great thing as long as RCs still exist. Because I like invite only. You have to earn your way via a system of some kind, be it points, like with Pokemon they have Worlds. You have to get a certain amount of points accrued to get to Worlds. I don't like the idea with... I spoke about it before and why I brought Pokemon into the podcast. I think it is a joke that Johnny from down the road that's never picked up Pokemon before could get a ticket to the tournament that I've been working at for the last 9 months because they're quicker in the checkout than me. I don't like that. And I think there's an element of that for this Lorcana one. I know that was just open. EUIC was just open. I tried to get tickets. I couldn't. That sold out within a minute. If Magic brought back GPs, as we've seen with Magic on, it does sell out. So maybe if a GP... came back, maybe Magic would sell out these things.
I mean, I've obviously missed the landscape that we had pre-COVID, right? I think the game felt more popular pre-COVID. I miss the Star City Games Open. I miss the Twitch channels that were just playing live Magic. If we can go somewhat back to that through comp play or through more accessible tournaments, I don't think that's a bad thing. But like you said, there should be room for both, right? There should be room for the invite, and there should be room for the and we know Axion tournaments sell out. We've been, but the caps are smaller. They're just smaller than these new games, new card games that are coming out.
But we had a bit of a discussion about it as a local kind of Magic community recently, and I still think it's partially WotC to blame in that with all these other games where they are selling out, and maybe this won't be the case forever, but there is one format. and that is what you play. If you play Lorcana, you play Lorcana. Flesh and Blood, obviously, I'd use that as an example, but they did try and introduce like, you know, Blitz and Standard and what's the Brawl? Is it Brawl, the 4-player like Commander?
Yeah.
So I think that's a mistake, honestly. Pokemon, I think, obviously, it's more accessible for a younger audience, but also having one format that you push, and they have expanded, but they don't ever have a tournament for it. They've just let it die in the woods somewhere. You know, it centralizes a player base, and I think we've seen locally through our CQs and this comp season. Comp itself has kind of united the player base a little bit in that people are shifting between formats just because they want to play comp. But obviously in these other games you don't have to do that. You play your one type of game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
think for me, the hype around these new games is what drives the selling out, right? Because it is a collective group of new players.
Sure.
Whereas I think Magic has entrenched players, and then there doesn't seem
Pokemon's
to be
an exception.
Sure, but I mean, Pokemon has an introduction, a way that introduces new players into the game through the age brackets. Through the TV program, through Pokemon Go. Right, they have lots of avenues to feed people towards. This is your
eventual goal,
yeah. Yeah, right. Like, you might play Pokemon Go, and there'll be like an incentive: go get a free pack, or here's a digital pack on the Pokemon TCG online arena thing. You know, and Magic doesn't really have that. You know, you can get your pack that leads you to arena, but you have to already be interested in Magic, right? There's not. And there isn't a clear vision from WotC of this is how a new player finds and plays Magic the Gathering, right?
Yeah.
Which is where we have an aging player base.
Yeah,
where,
that's fair.
You know, we're all growing in and out of the game in somewhat of a fashion, whereas, you know, I can think of 2 players in Norwich who have joined Magic.
But not Commander, it's booming.
Sure. To be fair, I don't go to Commander Night, so I don't know how many new players are at Commander.
Yeah.
Again, that's a more accessible format anyway because it is casual, right?
And I do think, you know, for those that, you know, to bring a little bit of Rudy into the podcast, serialized cards I think are the best thing that Magic have tried to do to solve part of the problem. In that, if you look at Pokemon, if you look at Disney, your Enchanteds, your full art variant, super rare, serialized, whatever it is, they're the chase cards. But then the staple, like, you know, if you want to bling out a Charizard deck, you're looking at like hundreds, like maybe even found like up to $1,000. I don't know, I've not looked. But, you know, you can buy a Charmander for 2p, or you can buy one for £35. That's the difference, right? And people do pay 35. You know, they're hard to get, they're rare, they look cool. You know, a Charizard is a £5 or £100. So I think the serialized idea is a good thing for Magic. Like these hyper rare variants are how you have collectors entrenched in the game, whilst also making it affordable to players. And to be completely honest as well, I don't understand. Like, I was having a conversation with someone at Skyward actually about it. How is Pokemon even so cheap? Why do you open packs? Right, the EV on a Pokemon pack is awful, yet people do it. And Magic packs, people complain about the price, but your EV is way higher. And Pokemon's still £4 a pack versus 5, whatever. So,
but how do you find a Magic pack? How do you know to go and play Magic? Right, if you're a new player, how do you? Where, you know, when I first started playing Magic, I turned up, I saw people play the game, I was like, what's this? And then under the counter, someone bought out 2 different Magic the Gathering starter decks and was like, you can play these together. When was the last time we did that? You know, when was the last time? When I first started playing, there was a uni club that played Magic. And all of the local schools had a Magic the Gathering club, right, that was driven by Magic, stores, right? Stores were like, here's some free stuff, go start a club. When was the last time that happened? You know, I just don't see the longevity in Magic if we don't start having new players come and play the game. And it saddens me that when people complain about people playing slowly at pre-release, because that is the perfect new player experience.
For sure. But rather than just complaining about it, presenting Templar... No, we should actually start an initiative to try and get players into the game that could...
I mean, let's discuss it at the team meeting
at a later date. But I do think it's a shame. And I will also say, for as much as I think the Magic community is fantastic, as a new player going into Pokemon, I felt more welcome going into Pokemon than I did when I started Magic. And so I'm not comparing like A to B in 2024. I'm talking when I first started playing in 2019, I felt less welcome at my first Magic event than I did at my first Pokemon event in 2024. And I think there's an element of that, which I guess leads well into our next topic of Magic integrity in the competitive scene. It kind of, it was almost like a running joke in our team chat in that it was kind of like, didn't you post this last event? Because surely someone else isn't cheating at another
It is event. A bit boring now, isn't it? It's a bit,
Yeah, so again, we always like to be very careful about these situations because, you don't want to mar players that might be not cheating and it might be misconstrued. But there was a player called Daniello Carmine. From what we understand, they were banned pre-pandemic, and then the ban has lifted, and unfortunately they were on camera at LMS Prague and seemed to be shuffling specific cards to the top of their deck and presenting in a very... I'm not going to quite put this over to your side of the table. I'm going to talk to you while it goes there. Situation.
The old bait and switch.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And the reason I wanted to bring this up was I think the problem behind this is it felt like a lot of the responses to this video were trying to say there was nothing wrong with it, as opposed to saying innocent. It wasn't a case of like innocent until proven guilty. It was kind of saying, well, you don't know if they... It was kind of like almost like it was more expected behaviour at a Magic tournament. And, I've had conversations with a lot of players that maybe won't necessarily say it out loud, but think that there's a hell of a lot of cheating going on and that it's very accepted that that's an edge you can gain by outwitting your opponent. Yeah. And I think it's a huge problem in Magic, and maybe it's a problem in other card games as well. I don't play other TCGs.
This is a pretty common strategy, right? So not that we're not saying it's okay, but we're saying that as a player you need to be aware of this so you can mitigate how people do this, right? So they were shuffling their deck. Because from a fetch land, they slid a card. Now, we've seen this before. We've discussed this before. They slid a card to the top of their deck, right, that they were looking to draw. They shuffled, leave it without shuffling that part of their deck. They presented that deck and quickly cast a spell, right, not giving their opponent an opportunity to pick up their deck, shuffle it, cut it, and put it back, right? As a player who is aware that this is a strategy that people use, I will cross your threshold into your personal space and pick up that deck, shuffle it, and cut it back and put it back, right? And I've seen a noticeable difference from the 4 or 5 years ago when I started to do that in my results than previous. That's conjecture, probably not. That's bias, probably not true, right? But this person's opponent could mitigate what was happening there. Does that make what that person did right? No. But is that a common thing that people who cheat do? Yes. Right? You do need to be aware of that. You do need to be watching that in any card game, I think. I think it is correct that that is something that people do in all card games, right?
I think like life total checking as well. Like a lot of the times if you say like, oh, am I on, they'll be like, yeah, I'll go to 12 and fetch, and you'll say, oh, I had you at 11, and then they very commonly go, oh yeah, so I hadn't marked that down.
Exactly.
It is a little, it can...
These are small edges that people who care too much, I'd say, about their results will be looking to edge you on, right?
Yeah. And I think it's, one of the famous cases in cheating with Magic was obviously the pile shuffling magician, Fabrizio, and Terry, and the justification for that was in the apology was that they genuinely thought that they were better than their opponent, so that it was okay because it just got them to the later rounds quicker. So I think it's like, I think it can happen in any hobby. It can happen in absolutely anything, right?
Yeah.
People cheat. Like
in badminton, Stephen, people cheat in badminton.
They do. But like, honestly, like I was looking at stats for video games. Like, it is unbelievable how many cheaters. Like Minecraft has the highest level of cheaters in a video game, and it's not even like there's not even like really stakes in Minecraft, right? Like, but people still want to cheat for whatever reason. Be expression in that game, like do things you shouldn't be able to do, or destroy people's creations. I don't know, but I think it's an inherent human habit that we really need to try and quell out, and maybe we should just stop talking about it because it happened. But the problem is it happens so often that you don't want to ignore it because it's so horrible. Because as well, like when we're talking about why new players don't want to get in the game, like how can you sell it on a positive note, really, right? Like it's very sad. And I've closed our reference video here, but I think it was like round 9 or 10. So it's like you get to that point, and again, name drop more famous cheating cases. Yuya Watanabe with the Tron lands. It mars everything prior to that event because again at the American Regional Championship with the Gemstone Caverns that suddenly tapped for colored mana. Was that an accident? Probably. Fatigue, who knows? But it puts into question everything prior to that. And I just think people need to be way more aware that people, as you say, right, shuffle your opponent's deck, write your life total down on paper. Don't use one of those like erasable life pads. Make sure you're tracking it. Don't necessarily do this at F&M. I personally don't. I don't even cut my opponent's decks at F&M. I literally tell, if you want to cheat against me at F&M, cheat against me. I do not care enough. Like, that's insane. But like comp rel, protect yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
I think we just want to draw attention to it as for everyone to be doing their due diligence in your comp play, right? Just be really hyper aware. This person's cheated before. We're not saying they cheated here, but if you've done it before, right? And if you any opponent, whether you know that they've done it before, that you suspect that they could be doing it, just make sure that you are really mitigating what somebody could be doing against you, right? In comp play, and 100%. It is about that integrity, right? You play with integrity, and as part of your integrity, you're going to make sure that you are shuffling, cutting, aware of your life totals, and playing to the highest of your level, right?
And be respectful about it as well. Like you don't have to do it in a dick way. Like you can, these things are fine to do. Like checking life totals is you can ask in a respectful manner. You don't have to be like, you're fucking wrong. Like and screaming at someone. You can just be like, oh, I thought this. Like you can
slow people's actions down, right? You can say, hang on a minute, you were just fetching and now you're putting a spell on the stack. Put that back in your hand, please. I'm just going to cut your deck, right?
It's not a big one, no. To stay on top of. But to finish the show with a segment we're stealing from our live show of heroes and villains, we'll split this into that. Every month we talk about something good and something bad, and I guess this kind of goes on that. So WotC have done a very good thing and a very bad thing. Maybe. Who knows? Like, it depends on what side of the fence you land on. So in terms of the good, I guess we should start with the good. What's been great? There has been a new MTGO player pack. And to be honest, I should have made way more notes on this. But effectively, you get loads of shit for free. And that's kind of cool. So basically, I believe you get the account upgrade kit is the one they've put numbers for. So for $4.99, which is like
pennies,
a coffee,
a Starbucks.
Yeah, what less than a Starbucks?
Less than a Starbucks.
Yeah. It's
I guess if you add all your syrups and you make it a venti.
No, well, like a large Starbucks now is like $5.50 for an oat milk cappuccino.
I'm not getting a large, Steve.
Oh, I need the caffeine, the extra shots. But for $4.99, you get over 5,000 cards to play with, including, I believe, without the upgrade, you get Humans in Pioneer, like a basic version, Delver in Pauper, Braids in Commander, Burn in Legacy, and Infect in Modern, which seems like a weird choice from the Modern deck, but sure.
They want people to be playing Infect. I like it.
But as well as that, they've also added for something like $30-$40, you can get like a Commander kit where you get like 2,000 Commander staples.
Wow.
So it feels like there's a lot of good shit coming to MTGO, and I wanted to put this in the agenda more to ask the question, does it tempt you to play MTGO?
Me personally, no.
You personally?
I think video games are better.
Sure.
In lots of scenarios. I guess, we have Phil, who's an absolute grinder on MTGO. He sees it as an amazing tool to practice the game. I think if you want to go and practice comp magic, there's nothing better than MTGO leagues. I don't think Arena does it. I don't think the quality of play on Arena is as good as the quality of standard players on MTGO. So I think if you want to pick up MTGO, grabbing that pack for $4.99 and getting a subscription to Mana Traders, you are going to be flying.
But speaking of Mana Traders, do WotC with these moves to provide more for less but direct through them, is there a world where they start offering rental services themselves?
No.
Why not? I would.
I just don't. I think MTGO just doesn't have enough people looking and maintaining and caring about it on WotC's end for it to, Mana Traders already have monopolised that market.
Yeah, I suppose, to be honest, I am amazed that they're even doing anything, because it feels like, why?
But it's great.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but also, why is Pioneer not on fucking MTGA? Like, I struggle in that I work in video game publication, and I do not understand, with the amount of revenue they must be making from this game, how they cannot see it as like, oh, gold mine, because it's printing money. Like, it genuinely is printing money.
So do you, in that, do you want to work for what's here? Are you gonna?
No, I don't understand why. If the code is that bad, one, how they've let it get that bad, and two, surely it's worth either farming it out to a better team and paying an external company, or hiring more coders to fix whatever problems they're having with coding these new cards. Because I understand there's a lot of animation work to be done with cards, and there's card interactions they need to program in. But when they already have MTGO, I don't understand how they.
I'll tell you what I've been enjoying recently. I've picked up Hearthstone again, and I've been smashing Battlegrounds. I've been smashing Wild. Like, really? Hearthstone is such a good game, and Arena doesn't touch it. MTGO is a different. Is for a different kind of person, right?
See, Riot have hooked me right back in with not a card game, but TFT.
It's like Battlegrounds, right? I get it. Yeah.
For me, it's just the fact they've finally released again, and I don't understand how Riot took so long to do it. You used to have to play the phone app on iPad, and now to be able to play a correctly non-pixelated version of the game on iPad it's just a game changer. To be able
if I had an iPad, I'd be there with you on TFT, but on the phone, Hearthstone's Battlegrounds.
Phone.
I
refuse to play TFT on phone. I play MTGA and I played Hearthstone on phone, but TFT was too small. I like to play while I'm like on an exercise bike, and like then when you're adding this tiny little screen, like, and you're trying to finger mash your units, it's not ideal. But then going over to the bad,
the villain.
Yes, the villain.
Villainous
heroes and villain. And I'm not sure if this is villainous, but secret layers have obviously been changed to, rather than print to demand, limited print runs. Now, they announced some new secret layers. There was some pretty cool stuff. There was an Aetherval secret layer with art from... Who was the art by? Ravina Kai. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
So this was the Fallout secret lair, right? And I personally, I'm a secret lair person, right? I've bought every single one. I've taken some time off. My adult life is moving in the house direction. I refrained from buying. I was very much enticed by these secret lairs. I thought they were gas. Every month I'm enticed by the artwork,
but arguably,
the cards.
As now moving into adult life directions that are not children's card games. In this case, would it have been a worthwhile investment given? So the news point here is now we're looking at it on the 14th of April. These have been for sale for 6 days in the UK, and there are currently only 6 left out of the 12.
It is enticing. I like the limitation. I think it makes them even more purchasable for me.
See, I agree to a point, but aside from these, Fallout ones, as far as I'm aware, all the bundles, literally every, we celebrate the non-foils, we celebrate the foils, all that shit, and all the artist series for Ravina Kai, and also I think it was like Sunlight something or other. There was some bundle around that. They had all sold out within 24 hours. And I think that is on the urge of being too quick. And the reason I said it, and the reason I'm so annoyed about Secret Lairs is, so I bought Secret Lair Arcane. I'm a big League of Legends fan. I bought Secret Lair Arcane on the used market, like second-hand market, whatever. I paid a premium for it. I wanted the entire League Secret Lair. And I got an advert for it on my Facebook and Twitter feed and went, oh yeah, shit, I'll buy that. And it had gone. So their advert was running past their sale date. Now, the problem is, when they couldn't even cut their adverts off, when they has a designated 30-day period to buy something, now when stuff is selling out 24 hours, they are advertising these secret lairs, and they're already gone. And I really don't like that.
But are they just gauging interest this time, right? This is the first month they've done it. Next month might be that they've got more available.
No, I think they did
from the print run.
They did it for the dog secret lair deck as well.
I know, but that's Commander, right? Like, is that a different player base that they're appealing to than your regular secret lair? I think let's let it shake it out, right? It could be a bad thing, but I like limited stock. I think it makes more sense for Secret Lair than having loads of cards printed that never get sold.
For sure. And then the other problem, obviously, we can't even get this because the bundle's sold out. But obviously, it's been spoilt by the fact that you can see what I'm typing on my screen. What the fuck is this card? So for context for those watching, we are too lazy to put these images on the screen. But they announced an offer where you might get certain special promos thrown in if you buy enough cards to like gambling with your gambling. One promo that you did get if you bought all the bundles was Ignoble Hierarch, which is a 1 green mana dork. It is a 0/1 that tapped for Jund. But the artwork on this, if you actually look in, and I know this is boring for those watching, but just to describe it to you, you can see it on the fingers of his hand, the mana it taps for. You can see, I believe somewhere in here I noticed, oh, there you go, on his shoulder he has Creature, Goblin, Shaman, and it's just to the point of like, how obscure do you want to make Magic cards? And I think art is expression is cool. I do think having variety of cards, having foreign cards, I think it's fine. But I think this opens to the door when we go back to those potentially slimy players that could be using, as an example of a story I talk about a lot, where a Magic player laughed as they told me about their Tron deck with all Russian Tron lands of different artworks so they could dupe other players. It opens the door.
It does, but just do your due diligence. Check your opponent's cards. There might be a world in the future where judges say, "Do you know what? That's not playable. That version's not playable. Sorry, here's a proxy," and that may or may not be good for the game. But I think I really like the expression of artists in the secret layers. I think it's exciting that we can go there.
See, I think with it, I agree, but I think with this one specifically, the problem is that it's not the artist expression that's the issue. It's the fact that the card text is like...
Yeah, but we've had textless promos.
Yeah,
right?
but I don't think textless, as cool as like that Darthy Voidwalker was, it's not good to have incredibly wordy cards with no fucking text on them. Like, it's so like, wasn't there one for Cryptic Command?
I think they should just whack QR codes on them now.
That would make more sense though, right? Like, you put a QR code in the bottom and you can like get, what language do you want? English. Yep, cool. The original printing, done.
I think we could have a whole podcast on this, so I don't think we can resolve this.
And speaking, actually, just to finish this and go on a total tangent, how on earth, when... Okay, Pokemon systems, even worse. They still have match slips. They still have it displayed on paper and shit like that. How, given that the companion app exists, have they not integrated a QR scanner? Because every week at F&M, you have to type in the code, right? Or give your email address to the store. How is there not a QR code for an event where you just, QR code? Because so many stores have TVs, right? You could just, enter modern. But I don't know. It's wild that they do these things. So yeah, we can definitely talk a lot more on WotC's villainy, I'm sure. But MTGO new player pack, that's great. That's good.
It. Yeah, if you like online MTGO, or if you're even tempted by it, I think that's a good way for you to play the game.
Definitely. And I guess we'll end it there. We'll see you soon.
Templar After Dark, Stephen.
It is Templar After Dark on the 26th of April. It'll be after F&M. 10:30, 11 p.m, somewhere around there, live on our Twitch channel.
Listen to us chat some more shit.
And also, I'm doing it a disservice because I actually don't have the dates up in front of me, and I definitely want to tell people about them. We do have our first local East Anglian RCQ dates announced from Skyward Fire Games.
And what format are we playing, Stephen?
Pioneer, of course.
Pioneer season.
It's Pioneer
We're
all
there,
through and
our
through.
favourite format.
Maybe. But obviously we will be bringing kind of coverage of those events, which is...
we will. Me and you, Stephen?
Templar will.
I've been fired.
Yeah, there's also a situation where it's just saying my messages are not syncing. So that's cool. On here, so
see
I can't actually
dates in the notes.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we surely I sent them somewhere where we can quickly grab them, didn't we?
You did. Let me find them. You put them in Team Champ.
There we go. So May the 19th and June the 23rd, we will be streaming Skyward Fire Games Pioneer RCQ Live. Tickets are available on their website as well. That will be linked down below, and I believe they have kept. Credit to Skyward Fire Games, Tournament Centre have increased the price, as far as I'm aware, and Skyward Fire Games have kept the price the same. So it's going to be £15 entry for their RCQs, which is
Pioneer.
very, very cheap.
I pay more for Modern, but good for Pioneer.
Yeah, pricing is obviously relatable to that price point, but there's some super cool promos. I think it's Goblin Guides and some awesome...
Another Goblin Guide promo?
Yeah.
People love Burn. WotC love Burn. Someone in WotC loves Burn.
I think it's like 32 promos per event. So like it's not like a top 8 or whatever. Like everyone gets a Goblin Guide kind of thing. It's like a participation
Play
promo,
Burn.
so that's cool. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we'll see you for those. We'll see you for After Dark. Thank you for listening to our rambling.
Thank you.
I know. Did you ever watch the War Owl from Counter-Strike? He had a thing where at the end of every episode he said, and I still have no closer, because he just never made an outro and did it for like 5 years. Obviously, we are not where we always say we will be. We're just in my living room. So maybe next time we will be in a different place. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we'll buy a green screen.
It's going to be so nicely decorated. You have no idea, Steve. Every weekend, Stephen's there painting it.
Yeah.
Definitely. The chairs are next level. We're going to be in, what are they called? What are the Eames chairs with the nice footrest and
no, I know exactly what you mean, but I don't know what they're called. The super ergonomic, like we're not.
Either way, Stephen's like he's taken out a second mortgage. It's gonna be so nice.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be so looked after.
It'll be a thing. And maybe we'll be there next time. And thank you very much for listening to the show.